I was prepared for war. This was a big case, big stakes, and I was ready to fight for what mattered. Then Jeremy Reed walked in. Slick suit, smug smile, the kind of guy who probably polishes his closing arguments like a vintage car. I'd heard he was good. Very good.
I walked into the courtroom, calm, collected, slightly over-caffeinated. And then I saw her, Rachel Park, the woman who made partner before 35, known for winning impossible cases, giving impassioned closings, and, yeah, glaring at me like I'd just insulted her mother. I'd never gone up against her. And I'll admit, part of me was curious. And not just professionally.
The case was a messy one, not evil versus good, more like two sides trying to protect what they believed in. My client was a nonprofit fighting to stop a corporate development that would displace a low-income community. His client was a clean energy company trying to build sustainable housing in that same neighborhood. Both sides thought they were saving the future. So yeah, you could say we both had our capes on. And we both wanted to win.
We went at it. Day one in court, she tore into my witness with surgical precision. I almost applauded. Almost. But I gave it right back. By the time we wrapped that afternoon, the judge looked exhausted. I felt alive. She was sharp, passionate, relentless, and kind of infuriating.
I needed a drink, so I went to this quiet little bar near the courthouse. Same place I always go to decompress and remember I'm a human being. And guess who was already there, swirling a glass of scotch like he was on a legal drama?
She spotted me. I spotted her. And for a second, it was awkward. Like, do we pretend we don't see each other? But she walked over. She sat down and said, "We're not talking about the case." And I said, "Good. I'm off duty."
We talked about everything but the case. Favorite movies. Why we became lawyers. What we'd do if we quit tomorrow. He was funny. Smarter than I gave him credit for, and weirdly genuine. I didn't want to admit it, but I liked talking to him.
She made me laugh. Like, really laugh. And when she smiled, like actually smiled, I forgot we were opponents. We were just two tired lawyers sharing a drink after a long day. I walked her to her car, said goodnight, and tried very hard not to look back.
The next morning, I told myself it was nothing, just two professionals having a drink. But then I saw him walk into court. All that smooth confidence and something in me clicked. So I went at him harder than I did the day before. Sharper arguments, deeper citations, a little extra heat in the cross-examination. I told myself it was just about the case. It wasn't.
She was on fire. Like she'd circled my name in red and made it her mission to ruin my credibility in under 10 minutes. And I loved it. I hit back with everything I had. We turned that courtroom into a stage. I wasn't just arguing the case anymore. I was trying to impress her. And maybe, in some twisted way, she was doing the same. The judge kept giving us these looks like, "Do I need to separate you too?" He wasn't wrong.
After court, I walked toward my apartment. Told myself to just go home. But I didn't. I went back to that same bar. And he was already there.
I didn't plan on going back to the bar. I told myself I was just grabbing a drink to decompress. But deep down, I knew. I was hoping she'd show. I sat at the same table as the night before, ordered her drink before I even knew if she was coming. It was stupid. Or maybe it wasn't. Because when she walked in, it was like the noise in the room shifted. She saw me, smirked. That same half-curious, half-daring look she gave me in court, only softer now. More dangerous. And I knew. This wasn't just two lawyers grabbing drinks. This was something else.
I told myself it was a bad idea. That getting involved with opposing counsel during an active case was about as reckless as it gets. But I couldn't stop thinking about him. The way he looked at me in court. Not with arrogance, but admiration. Like he saw something in me most people miss. And when I saw him already sitting there, drink waiting, same table, same seat, I knew he'd been hoping too. That mattered more than I wanted to admit.
We talked about nothing and everything, avoided the case like it was radioactive, talked about travel and music and our worst clients and that one professor we both hated in law school. Turns out we had a lot more in common than I expected. I liked hearing her talk when she wasn't trying to outmaneuver me. I liked watching her smile without needing to win. And when it was time to go, I hesitated. For a split second, I was going to say goodnight and walk away. Be noble. Keep it clean. But she looked at me and said,
"You want to come over?" We talked, and he listened, not the way men sometimes pretend to, nodding while scanning the room for an exit. He really listened, asked thoughtful questions, told me things he didn't have to. Let me see parts of him I don't think he shows in court. It was vulnerable, kind of thrilling. And when we left, I invited him back. No drama, no performance, just honesty. At my place, things were quiet at first, like we were both aware we were walking a very thin line. But then he kissed me again, and everything else fell away.
Waking up next to her felt like waking up in someone else's life. Not because it didn't feel right, because it felt too right. The kind of right you don't expect from a one-night decision. She was still half asleep, hair a mess, blanket half wrapped around her. I wanted to freeze that moment because I knew it was fragile. I said something about breakfast. She said something about the case. We both laughed, and then the tone shifted.
I woke up with this strange sense of calm and panic, wrapped into one. Like something irreversible had happened, and now I had to deal with the fallout. But he didn't run. He didn't make it weird. He just stayed. He asked about coffee. He was warm, normal, kind. And somewhere between brushing my teeth and pouring cereal, I looked at him and said, "I don't think this case has to end the way they think it does." And I saw it in his eyes. That shift. That moment when we stopped being opponents and started being something else entirely. Partners, maybe. Not just in this case, but something more.
What she said that morning stayed with me. The idea that maybe neither side had to lose. That there was a smarter way out. A more human way. I realized I'd been so focused on winning the argument, I forgot what the argument was for. She didn't just want to win. She wanted to fix something. That was the difference. That's what made me trust her. That's when I knew. We weren't just on the same page. We were writing the same story.
Walking into court that morning felt different. Not because I wasn't ready to fight, I was always ready to fight, but because I finally understood what the fight should be for. It wasn't about winning anymore. It was about fixing something. About finding a way forward where nobody had to lose just so someone else could win.
We didn't rehearse it. We just understood. She started with this opening that wasn't about law at all. It was about people, about the community, about how both our clients were trying to build a better future, just from different blueprints. And I watched the jury and her client perk up.
Then he stood up, and I'll admit I held my breath. But he didn't tear me apart. He didn't grandstand. He built on what I said. He said something like, "If two sides are fighting for what's right, maybe the real wrong is not finding a way to meet in the middle." And I swear for the first time the courtroom went still.
It wasn't dramatic. No objections. No gavel slamming. Just a quiet realization on both sides that the battle had run its course. And when the judge asked if both parties were willing to consider a mediated settlement, they said yes.
The case didn't end with a knockout. It ended with a handshake. And somehow, that felt like the biggest win either of us had ever had.
We didn't say anything to each other when it was over. Not right away. She just looked at me across the courtroom. and smiled. And that smile? That was the real verdict.
We went out that night, no secret glances, no pretending we weren't what we were, just us. He showed up in a navy jacket and jeans, relaxed, confident. Not courtroom confident, but real-world confident. The kind that makes you feel like you're safe just standing next to him.
She wore this green dress that didn't scream lawyer. It whispered something else entirely. And for the first time, I wasn't thinking about closing arguments or press releases. I just wanted to know everything about her. Her favorite food, her worst date, the movie that always makes her cry. Spoiler, it's The Iron Giant.
We talked for hours about how we got into law, about the idealism we started with, and how maybe, just maybe, we'd lost it a little along the way. And then we talked about what it would mean to get it back.
That's when I said it. What if we worked together? Build something new, our own firm, our own rules. I expected hesitation, but instead, she said,
Only if we get to fight side by side, not against each other. I meant it as a joke, sort of. But he just nodded, and we both knew. This was happening.
6 months later, we opened our own firm. Small office, big coffee budget, clients who actually care, cases that actually matter.
We still argue, still challenge each other, still push, but now we're on the same side.
And when people ask how we met,
We just say, we objected, then we settled.